and welcome. Tonight, President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte welcome President Bola Tinubu and Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu to France on first state visit since the year 2000. Amnesty International reports on the August 2024 End Bad Governance protest says 24 protesters were killed, with 1,200 people arrested across the country. And Russian President Vladimir Putin threatens to attack decision-making centers in the Ukrainian capital, Kiev, with its country's new ballistic missile.
On business news, Naira strengthens slightly at official markets following central bank's rate hike.
On sports news tonight, Nigeria Super Eagles suffer biggest drop in recent years in the FIFA World Rankings, falling 8 places from 36 to 44.
From Abuja, the nation's capital, President Bola Tinubu's 4 tax reform bills passed second reading through
in key sectors like food, security, energy, solid minerals, education, and defense. The president, who was speaking at a joint press conference in Paris following talks with President Emmanuel Macron, highlighted Nigeria's untapped agricultural potentials and invited global investors to leverage its welcoming investment climate. President Macron and his wife had earlier welcomed the president and the First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, at the historic Green Valley Memorial Complex. Describing the visit as a milestone in bilateral relations, President Tinubu asked increased French investments in Nigeria's solid minerals, collaboration in the creative industries, and youth-focused initiatives.
The Franco-Nigerian business role is so important, and trade and investment has been integral to this partnership. As discussed earlier on, we need to do more, promote more, invest more in very important areas. Food security is one of them. We cannot but invest in one another's economy. And we owe it a responsibility by all of us to put together a food security program for private sector investors to come in, invest, with the risk, the fears that they may have. We've been working on stabilizing the security system in Nigeria, and we are getting closer and closer. We are doing better. We assure the investing community that Nigeria is open for business. We assure you of a free market economy, easy in, easy out, no hindrance.
Amnesty International is reporting that 24 protesters were killed and 1,200 were arrested during the August 2025 End Bad Governance protest across the country. The human rights organization made this revelation at the presentation of a documented report on the protests in Kano. Our correspondent, Sadiq Iliasu, reports.
Over 2 months after the nationwide End Bad Governance protest, human rights organization Amnesty International is here to unveil a report on the rights violations during the protest. A documentary showing how protesters were brutalized is presented. The organization's country director, who presented the report, revealed that about 24 people, including minors, were killed and 1,200 protesters were arrested.
If you ask for drugs, if you ask for medicine, if you ask for good hospitals, what will you receive? Bullets. If you ask for better life for your children, better schools, what do you receive in return? Bullets.
The 34-page document indicates that the police deployed excessive force in cracking down on the protesters. However, some civil society organizations want the report to do much more.
You know, the report is sketchy, and we will say it has lack a lot of consultation, because there are a lot of Nigerian patriotic movement. From our own rough estimate, about 40 people were killed and a lot missing, you know, and so many unaccounted for brutality and violence against peaceful protesters, and which largely is being sponsored and carried out by the regime actors.
Yeah, I think these three are actual and accurate, but I think there is so many things that was happened which was underreported, honestly speaking, and there was a lot of cases that have not been reported to the authority and civil society as well. But as a civil society activist, we have to take this report as very, very important, and we have to do action by advocating and also follow up with our own personal press conference like this in Jigawa to call the attention of the government and other key relevant stakeholders to take action on what was transpired during the August protest in Jigawa State.
The report highlights the urgent need for accountability and justice to address the human rights violations reported during the protest. Sadiq Ilyasu, Channels Television News.
The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, is asking Nigerians to collectively denounce insurgency and all forms of criminality by teaming up with security agencies in the fight against insecurity in the country. Speaking at an event in Abuja, General Musa says although the security threats being experienced in Nigeria is not peculiar to the country alone as a nation, the armed forces remain committed to quashing insurgents through what he describes as a whole society approach. General Musa also restated the commitment of the area forces to protect the nation's democracy at all times.
The threats we face as a country are multifaceted, ranging from terrorism and insurgency to socio-economic issues and community unrest. Arising from these complex dynamics, it has become increasingly evident that no single institution can solve these issues in isolation. No one can do it alone, and we need to collaborate together as Nigerians. The armed forces, the security agencies need the support of the populace who are everywhere, because between the armed forces, the security agencies, and the terrorists, the insurgents, and the bandits, we are trying to win the hearts and minds of the people. Thus, a whole society effort that brings together every segment of our nation is needed to build lasting peace, security, and progress. This can only be achieved by integrating our collective expertise, resources, and influence of various stakeholders with a view to creating a resilient framework for both security and emergency management strategies through civil-military relations. The threats we are facing are not peculiar to Nigeria alone, not peculiar to the region or Africa. It is the whole of humanity that is being threatened.
The House of Representatives has adopted a report of its ad hoc committee on the confirmation and screening of the acting Chief of Army Staff and confirmed the appointment of Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede as the Chief of Army Staff. The chairman of the committee, Babajimi Bensing, in presenting that report, said that Lieutenant General Oluyede had satisfied all requirements. General Oluyede was screened behind closed doors by the ad hoc committee.
House and Committee of the Whole considered the report of the ad hoc committee on confirmation screening for acting Chief of Army Staff and approved the only recommendation therein that Lieutenant General Olotubosun Oluyede be confirmed as the Chief of Army Staff of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Still on security matters, as part of efforts to establish specialized investigative units within the Nigeria Police Force, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetogun, has ordered the immediate route sanitization and restructuring of the Kebbi State Command Criminal Investigation Department, the CID. A statement signed by the Force Public Relations Officer ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi says in a strategic move aimed at enhancing the effectiveness and professionalism of police officers attached to the section in the state, the IGP has directed that all officers currently occupying positions within the Kebbi State CID be reassigned to other commands, formations, and units, including training schools. According to that statement, this decision is part of a broader initiative to inject expertise into the department, ensuring that the most capable hands are on ground to place modern policing ideals through standardized investigations and intelligence gathering in line with the provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, the Police Act 2020, and other relevant laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The IGP has also harped on the need to carry out consistent training of officers involved in investigations as a follow-up to the workshop held with heads of all police investigative units in Abuja on November 11th, 2024. Criminal elements usually take advantage to unleash mayhem on innocent citizens during celebrations and festivities, and they have now been warned to steer clear from the state as security operatives will not hesitate to deal decisively with excellent laws with anyone planning to threaten security of lives and property during the festivities. General Officer Commanding 3 Division of Nigerian Army and Commander Operation Safe Haven, Major General Abdulsalam Abubakar, during the security seminar at the Maxwell Kobe Cantonment in Jos, says the chief has approved deployment of additional troops and critical combat enablers to secure the state, especially during the upcoming festive season.
In continuation of the Joint Security Task Force mandate to ensure safety of lives and property in Plateau State, critical stakeholders from different communities discussed, especially with the harvest season and festive period approaching. Addressing the gathering, the Commander Operation Safe Haven, Major General Abdulsalam Abubakar, stated security agencies' determination to ensure the celebration is observed peacefully in various communities.
We must continue to adopt the bottom-up crisis resolution approach to fashion ways and means to ensure that issues raised in this seminar trickle down to others who are not opportune to be present here today. They are the ones that really need to know what we have deliberated upon today. I also wish to seize this opportunity to send a strong warning to those criminals planning to cause mayhem during the Yuletide season. The Chief of Army Staff has graciously approved the deployment of additional troops and critical combat enablers to Plateau State, especially during this
A lecture series on peaceful coexistence for a secure harvest and harmonious Yuletide were presented by religious leaders and peace-building advocates to enlighten participants on what is expected of them.
The real victory is not over farmers, it's not over Fulani, it's not over headers. The victory must begin with you. So can you give to Jesus during this season a victory over your pride, your greed, your selfishness, and all the lies that you have been spreading around concerning other religions? Somebody has said that enemies are destroyed with arms and might. You can destroy a farmer, you can subdue him, you can eliminate him, but enmity that is within yourself can only be destroyed with dialogue and forgiveness.
The former Director General, Plateau Peace Building Agency, Mr. Joseph Legmang, cautions against stigmatization and profiling, which has been a challenge.
This conversation is anything to go by, perhaps is to further reinforce the need for us to gear up in order to address the consequences, or rather the legacies of this decade's experience of internecine violence in Plateau.
With the Yuletide at hand, security agencies in Plateau have asked for the support of all residents to achieve a safe harvest and joyous celebration.
In part two, after the break, seventh prosecution witness John Adetola testifies against former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele as his trial for alleged abuse of office continues. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte welcome President Bola Tinubu and Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu to France on the first state visit since the year 2000. Amnesty International reports on the August 2024 End Bad Governance protest says 24 protesters were killed, with 1,200 others arrested across the country. Hundreds of bandits terrorizing Kaduna and its environs for many years lay down their arms in Birnin-Gwari local government area under the non-kinetic arrangement facilitated by Governor Obasani. And Russian President Vladimir Putin threatens to attack decision-making centers in the Ukrainian capital of Kiev with its country's new ballistic missile, Orshnik. Seventh prosecution witness Mr. John Adetola, who is testifying in the case against the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has told the Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja how he collected the sum of $400,000 on behalf of Mr. Emefiele. Mr. Adetola, who identified himself as an executive assistant to Mr. Emefiele, also narrated how he handed over the money to Mr. Emefiele. He gave his testimony today while answering questions from the counsel to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the prosecutor, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Rotimi Oyedepo. Speaking about the $400,000, he testified that in 2018, the personal assistant to the CBN governor in Abuja, Mr. Eric Odo, sent him a message to go and collect the money from John Ayo, the former director of ICT department, and give the same amount to the former CBN governor when he came to Lagos. The witness also disclosed that he shared his information with the EFCC when he was invited for interrogation. Justice Rahman Oshodi has adjourned till December the 10th for cross-examination of the witness. We have more for you on the news at 10. Let's head over to Abuja studios now, where Markwe Yusuf is standing by. Hello, Markwe.
Hello, Anne. Well, we're starting off at the National Assembly, where the Senate has passed President Bola Tinubu's 4 tax bills through second reading after a voice vote. This followed a presentation by the Senate leader, Senator Okpeyemi Bamidele, in a general lead debate. The proposed legislation seeks to harmonize, coordinate, and resolve disputes arising from revenue administration in Nigeria. Although the reforms were generally acknowledged as critical to overhauling Nigeria's tax system and reducing the tax burden on citizens, Senator Ali Ndume expressed reservations about the timing and certain provisions of the bill. Our National Assembly correspondent Gloria Umezioke reports.
Only 24 hours after the Senate admitted President Bola Tinubu's team to provide explanations on the 4 tax bills, lawmakers reconvened with the bills taking center stage as promised. In an apparent determination to address the concerns raised, the Senate almost immediately dissolved into a closed-door session over the bills. Upon resumption, the Senate's leader leads the debate on the general principles of the bills.
There is proposed huge reduction in company income tax from the current 30% to 25% by 2026. It is proposed that the sharing formula should allow state government share 55% of VAT revenue from the current 15% to 10% sharing formula. There is a move and a commitment by the executive, and the attempt now is to encourage states to be productive. And why not?
However, there was one dissenting voice.
I would have preferred we remove the baby and throw away the water first. And that is to go with what the governors and NEC proposed. You withdraw the bill, work on it, and then submit it to the National Assembly again after getting the buy-in of the governors and NEC.
I beg to disagree with you that this bill should be withdrawn first. This bill is noble, is pro-people because it's trying to reduce the tax burden on Nigerians.
And in a voice vote, the ayes had it.
Distinguished colleagues, the 4 bills read so far are now referred to the Senate Committees on Finance for further legislative actions and revert to this August Assembly on or before 6 weeks.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives will hold a special session on the tax reform bills next week, Tuesday.
Please do consult as you go on this weekend. Come back with more robust idea and debate as we look into this matter finally on Tuesday. I wish you happy deliberation and consultation.
With the bills back on the front burner, all eyes are now on the public hearing stage where the bills will face further scrutiny and debate.
In a separate matter, the Senate suspends its rules to admit family of the late Senate President, Senator Joseph Wyers, to commence a valedictory session in his honor. Some members of the House of Representatives also joined the senators during the session.
Distinguished Senator Joseph Wyers was born in Basang, Obodo, Cross River State, on 24th May 1941. He was Commissioner for Transport, Southeastern State, now Akwa Ibom and Cross River States from 1972 to 1974.
And on this note, I must say adieu, my predecessor. May your soul rest in perfect peace.
A minute's silence is observed before the Senate adjourns to pay their final respects to the late patriot. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
In education and development, the Bishop of Sokoto Catholic Diocese, Bishop Matthew Koka, has decried the level of ignorance and poverty in northern Nigeria, accusing politicians of not doing enough to address the problems. He was speaking at a high-level town hall meeting on building collaborative pathways for women's inclusion in peace and security in Sokoto. He emphasized the need to prioritize the provision of education and knowledge to break away from the negative impact of ignorance that has retarded development and fueled the spread of conflicts.
As to the definition of rules. So we ask ourselves today in Nigeria, we're talking about security. When we talk of security, what are we really talking about? In Nigeria today, security has become purely and simply a question of what is happening to God. Nigeria has a national security architecture. It has a national defense policy. It has a national cyber security strategy, all aimed at protecting Nigeria. And the question to ask, therefore, is how did we get to a point in which we feel so unsafe in our own country? And now that we feel so vulnerable, I'm happy the video also indicated gains that were made as a result of the initiative of collaboration. Because for a long time, our quarrel has been that, Fulanis are killing Hausas are killing Fulanis, Muslims are killing Christians. And we can be dying in vernacular, we can be dying in different categories. But the important thing is that Nigerians are dying. So we have come to a point in which everybody must put their hands together. And fundamental to what we are taking away from this conversation is, one, for example, what role should women play? Despite the fact that Nigeria has adopted this policy about the need to incorporate women into issues of security. The police has a section that is dealing with women. But of course, naturally, they will put the categories of issues that women are supposed to be dealing with. That category only includes maybe the issue of children, and you discover that at the top of it, at the top policy decision making, they are men.
Staying with education, the British Council is advocating a solution-tailored curricula for tertiary education in Africa to enable students stand up to the emerging global challenges. The call is the crux of discussions on the second day of the British Council's annual conference holding in Abuja. The conference is the 20th edition, where the British Council gathers experts from around the globe to brainstorm on how to improve the quality of education.
It's an assemblage of education professionals on the second day of the British Council Annual Conference, which focuses on building sustainable and relevant tertiary institutions and systems in Africa. The core of the conversation is about developing education curriculum that prepares students to be solution providers for present and future societal challenges.
For you to eliminate poverty or to run this continent well, you have to develop productive capacities. Productive capacities are developed in schools. If the schools are also a problem, then we have a huge problem. We have to rethink everything, the way we teach, I've heard it said, the way we do research, and we have to be accountable for the process.
Institutions can also promote environmental awareness and responsibility by encouraging students to create community-based projects. They can integrate the current curricula. They should make sure that it is aligned with the change that is happening around the world.
Participants agree that the disparity between classroom learning and industry reality in many African institutions is such that will require a rejig of curriculum and collaboration to bridge.
You do need someone on the senior leadership team who has specific responsibility for working with everybody, for working with the student associations, to make sure that this really is something that is integrated into all aspects.
I think it is very critical that Africa's tertiary education institutions revise their curricula for those who have not yet joined the train, to join the train and then do that. So that will be the first one.
We recognise the significant importance, the significance of entrepreneurship. So our work in TVET is really focusing on this, and we work in partnership with a number of other organisations, for example, GIZ, the German Institute, as well as the European Union, and of course local partners.
For over 2 decades, British Council continues to champion conversations that shape education policies with the aim of improving the quality of education in Africa.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Naira strengthens slightly at the official market following the central bank's rate hike. That's on Business News. Please join us again.
Welcome back. The Imo State government has signed a memorandum of understanding with a multinational company based in the United Arab Emirates on the development of livestock management in Imo State, especially the revitalization of moribund agricultural industries across the state. The state governor, Hope Uzodimma, disclosed this at the government house in Owerri, the state capital, shortly after the signing ceremony. Governor Uzodimma says the move is part of his administration's commitment to enhance public-private partnership that will help boost and diversify the economy of the state.
We've been able to strike an agreement in our quest to involve the private sector to manage industries that have been moribund in Imo State. So today, we're going to, through public-private partnership, sign an agreement with this group to take over the livestock production in Asharubo, and open it up and expand it to not only do poultry, piggery, other livestock production and processing. And they will also install a fertilizer plant that will do 400 metric tons a day in the same premises. They will also take over Standard 2 that has been lying fallow here, and in addition, establish a textile factory within the same premise. And they will take over Insutais manufacturing.
We turn our attention back to security, where hundreds of bandits who have been terrorizing residents of Kaduna and neighboring states for many years have laid down their arms in Birnin Gwari local government area under the non-kinetic arrangement facilitated by the state governor, Senator Ubasani. The bandits surrendered under the Reconciliation and Disarmament Program, which is initiated by the Kaduna State Governor in collaboration with the Office of the National Security Advisor. And this is part of efforts to restore peace and security in Kaduna State using a carrot and stick approach. Speaking at that event, Governor Sani said this initiative is a deliberate policy by his administration to use both kinetic and non-kinetic methods to curb security in the state.
For over a decade, Kaduna State, like other parts in the Northwest region, have grappled with the challenges of insecurity fueled by activities of bandits and terrorists. Among the hardest 8 areas are Breningwari, Chukun, Kajuru, Igabi, Giwa, Zango-Kataf, and Kaura local government areas. Concerned about the persistent insecurity, Governor Obasan is adopting a new approach to tackle the problem, this time using a carrot and stick strategy. This strategy is believed to be yielding results. Several notorious bandits and their foot soldiers have surrendered in Breningwari under the Reconciliation, Reintegration and Disarmament Program. Notable among the repentant bandits were 2 infamous kingpins, Dongongide and Jambros, the latter represented by his father. The Emir of Breningwari hailed the development as a significant breakthrough, signaling hope for progress in the fight against banditry in the Northwest.
Things are okay now. As you know, just about some few weeks ago, these people have released over 100 people that they have captured. And they have also, wherever there is anybody among them who feels he can do without them, they dealt with him.
Taking the podium, Governor Sani explained the government's decision to engage with the bandits through the Disarmament and Reintegration Program.
This administration is here to listen, to act, and to ensure justice for everyone. Farmers, herders, traders, and all residents of Kaduna State. The Peace Dialogue Group, established with the Kaduna State government in collaboration with the federal agencies and security services, have been working tirelessly to engage all stakeholders. Through numerous meetings and extensive discussions, we have built bridges of trust. Several senior bandits leaders have laid down their arms and embraced peace, along with their followers.
However, the governor issued a stern warning that the reconciliation initiative should not be mistaken for weakness.
Let me be clear. Our approach is based on principle of carrot and stick. When we welcome those who choose peace, we will not hesitate to take decisive action against anyone who continues to perpetrate violence. The security, law enforcement, and intelligence agencies have already achieved significant results.
While in Breningwari, the governor also opened the community cattle market, symbolizing the gradual return of peace and security to the area.
We thank God that this thing is decreasing, and we have seen the government now are putting more effort to see that this thing has gone. Because in 10 years back, we cannot sleep in our houses. We cannot even go to our farms. But right now, as you are seeing, all of the villages have gone back to their places, and they are this year they have farmed in their places this year.
According to the Kaduna State government, the Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Program aims to ensure that all repentant bandits are enrolled in rehabilitation programs to transform them into productive members of their family and society at large.
The Nigeria Labour Congress, the NLC, has commissioned compressed natural gas-powered buses designed to reduce the cost of transportation arising from the removal of fuel subsidy. The NLC president, Mr. Joe Ajaero, accompanied by the governor, Abba Yusuf of Kano State, commissioned the buses, asking the state government to provide the necessary infrastructure for the smooth operation of these vehicles.
It's the only voice for the voice.
Members of the Nigeria Labour Congress and government officials gathered at the NLC Secretariat in Kano for the official commissioning of the compressed natural gas CNG buses in the state.
Of the Nigeria Labour Congress for the benefit of all citizens
as well as the good people of Nigeria.
The commissioning is coming a day after the state government began the payment of the new minimum wage to civil servants in the state.
Your Excellency, these passes are essentially to curtail or reduce the hardship imposed on us by the withdrawal of fuel subsidy. We are sure with maintenance and careful usage of these vehicles, it will impact our society, help our travelers, reduce the burden of transport fare in Kano. We sincerely thank you, the National President, for this magnanimous consideration of Kano State.
The President of the Nigerian Labour Congress emphasized that the CNG-powered buses would help alleviate the economic hardship caused by the removal of fuel subsidy.
We're not just going to commission 10 CNG buses. Kano is going to be a hub for the Lagos City transport. After Lagos is Kano. And we want to appeal to the governor to provide us with the infrastructure. A depot, maybe mini CNG stations where people can refill. And we can equally train few workers on CNG conversion of vehicles so that they make open workshop here and there.
The governor of Kano State reaffirmed his administration's commitment to providing the necessary infrastructure to guarantee the effective and smooth operation of the CNG-powered buses.
Now, apart from our intention to buy this type of buses, we are also going to allocate 30 of those luxurious buses, convert them from conventional usage of PMS to the use of CNG-powered buses. I believe that by the grace of Allah, this is going to reduce a lot of burden to the workers across the state and by extension to all the citizens and residents of the state.
The initiative is expected to ease transportation challenges for residents, especially for civil servants. Sadiq Ilyasu, Channels Television News.
As export trade relations between Nigeria and China continue to rise, the Director General and Global Liaison for the Nigeria-China Strategic Partnership, Mr. Joseph Tegbe, says that Nigeria is now growing to become a net exporter to China as the trade volume is showing significant progress. Mr. Tegbe stated that at the 18th China Engineering and Technology Expo in Abuja, says the event had in attendance the Minister of Transportation, the Minister of State for Transportation, among other industry stakeholders.
To explore the opportunities trade offers both Nigeria and China, the federal government officials meet Chinese trade officials at the 18th China Engineering and Technology Expo. The event began with the launch of the Green Development Index in Africa and China to strengthen their cooperation for green and sustainable development.
Nigeria has significant geographical and economic advantages. It plays a pivotal role in China-Africa cooperation, serving as China's largest engineering contract market, one of its largest trading partners, and an important investment destination in Africa.
Green development and digital economy have emerged as new engines driving economic growth, presenting vast opportunities for cooperation in green and sustainable infrastructure.
In his keynote address, the Minister of Transportation, Mr. Said Al-Khali, underscores the opportunities and prospects for cooperation in the Nigerian transportation market.
It is hoped that the central objective of promoting the infrastructure, economic trade and relation between China and Nigeria
will be sustained to make this engagement as achievable as forecast.
One of our cardinal objectives is to increase trade volume between Nigeria and China. As of December 2023, trade volume between Nigeria and China was about $22 billion, with imports from China accounting for close to $20 billion to push our trade volume between China and Nigeria higher than what it is today, and for Nigeria to become a net exporter to China.
Happy that the president was in China, and this is drawing attention of the private sector to do more.
The event ends with officials and industry groups cutting the ribbon for the opening of the forum and the exhibition.
Let's check out the nation's local currency. Well, Ibong is here to give us details in the world of business. Thank you, Anne. The Naira has shown resilience in the foreign exchange market on Thursday, closing at 1,644 Naira 86 kobo per dollar at the official NAFEM market, a 0.96% appreciation from Wednesday's 1,660 Naira 83 kobo. The NAFEX rate also strengthened slightly by 0.4% to 1,682 Naira 89 kobo, following the central bank's recent 25 basis points hike in the interest rate. Meanwhile, year-to-date, the Naira has depreciated by 40.4% from its starting rate of 988 Naira 46 kobo per dollar at the official market, reflecting ongoing volatility and FX liquidity challenges. And the Imo State Governor, Francis Nwifuru, has presented a 2025 budget proposal of 396.59 billion Naira to the State House of Assembly. The proposal allocates 284.52 billion Naira for capital projects, focusing on infrastructure and development, while about 112 billion Naira is earmarked for recurrent expenses. Governor Nwifuru has emphasized the budget's goal of driving economic growth and improving social services across the state.
Mr. Speaker, and our dear distinguished honorable members of this revered House, the implementation of the last budget was adjudged worthy by internationally acclaimed budget tracking organization, Budget, ranking us highly 5th position on Fiscal Transparency League table across the nation. It is our most fervent desire to perform even better in the coming years. To this end, in consideration of our projections and proposed interventions in the economy of the state, we have christened this budget the budget of economic and social development. It is our hope that if we do our best as we plan to, this budget would guarantee industrialization, economic growth, and improved standard of living.
Now, Volkswagen has decided to divest from its operations in China's Xinjiang region due to ongoing allegations of forced labor involving the Uyghur minority. The company's decision to sell its factory and test track in the region comes after years of investor and human rights group pressure. This move is part of a broader reassessment of foreign companies' presence in Xinjiang, where numerous reports have highlighted severe human rights issues. Despite this divestment, Volkswagen has reaffirmed its commitment to the Chinese market. Now back home, the domestic equities market has made a strong rebound in today's trading session, largely on investors' interest in Haradel. Ladi Williams tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, this week it's bearish momentum as market investors adjust their portfolios in response to the recent interest rate increase by the Central Bank of Nigeria, coupled with typical seasonal trends as the year comes to a close. And we see the market mover today after dragging the all share index down yesterday. Haradel Holdings comes to the rescue with a 9.23% gain, joining 26 other gainers like Oando and some of the banks there closing at 517 naira. Well, final trading day of November, that's tomorrow. Can the bull make a comeback and take the month positive? I guess we'll find out.
And that's it on business. It's back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Will. Russian President Vladimir Putin has threatened to target Kiev's decision-making centers with the country's ballistic missile. According to Mr. Putin, Moscow's overnight missile and drone attack on Ukraine's power grid was a response to Kiev's use of long-range missiles. Here's Simon Pise with other international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. More than 1 million Ukrainians have been left without power following a massive Russian attack on Ukraine's power grid. Explosions have been reported across the country from Kharkiv in the east to Lutsk in the far west and Odessa in the south. Authorities in Kyiv say the attack lasted almost 9.5 hours and contained 188 missiles and drones. Engineers have begun to repair damage to infrastructure, but Ukrainians have been warned that emergency power shutdowns could last until the evening. This is the second attack on the country's energy system this month.
Our nations are already the largest per capita contributors of military assistance to Ukraine. We will enhance our efforts, including to defense industrial production in Ukraine, and invest to increase Ukraine's ammunition supplies. We strengthen Ukraine's energy infrastructure to help them through the winter, and we support them on their path to EU and to NATO.
And we know today better than ever before that together we are much stronger. And strength, this is what we need today. Also, this readiness to demonstrate that we are determined and ready to do everything we can as a group, as a format, but also as a EU, as a NATO, to prevent risks, which is, of course, the Russian aggressive.
Votes are being counted in Namibia in what could be the most competitive election since independence from white-ruled South Africa 34 years ago. The poll was marred by logistical issues, with voting continuing for an unscheduled second day on Thursday in some areas. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah is seeking to become the country's first female president. She is the candidate of the governing Southwest Africa's People's Organization, but high unemployment, poverty, inequality and corruption allegations have eroded support for the party. Israel will appeal against the International Criminal Court's arrest warrants for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Judges last week issued warrants for the two men, along with Hamas military commander Mohammed Deif, saying there were reasonable grounds to believe the three men bore criminal responsibility for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. Israel's government, along with Netanyahu and Gallant, strongly rejects the accusations. Several of Donald Trump's cabinet nominees and picks for his White House team have been targeted by bomb threats. Lori Chavez DeRema, Lee Zeldin, and Elise Stefanik were among those threatened. The FBI said it was aware of numerous bomb threats, as well as swatting incidents in which hoax calls are made to attract a police response to the target's home. Threats were made at least 9 people chosen by Trump to lead the Departments of Defense, Housing, Agriculture, and Labor, as well as his pick for U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. 3 Americans detained exchange for 3 Chinese prisoners in the US after Joe Biden and his administration negotiated a prisoner swap. Mark Siddon, Kai Li, and John Lung are on their way back to the US, a spokesperson for the National Security Council said. The exchange was reportedly months in the making. President Biden raised the issue of Americans wrongfully detained in China directly with President Xi Jinping earlier this month, when the two met during the APAC summit in Peru. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has appeared to contradict President-elect Donald Trump's claim that the two have struck a deal to stop migration to the U.S. border. After a phone call on Wednesday, Trump posted online, "She has agreed to stop migration through Mexico and into the United States, effectively closing our southern border." Sheinbaum responded quickly that she had reiterated Mexico's position was not to close borders, but to address migration while respecting human rights. And the famous Thanksgiving Day Parade has taken place in New York. The event is celebrating 100 years and featured more than 30 balloons and 20 floats, 11 marching bands and 10 performance groups. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade has been the most watched entertainment show in the United States for the past 3 years. In downtown Los Angeles, turkey and all the trimmings were dished out for homeless people by celebrities. A record number of nearly 80 million Americans are expected to travel at least 50 miles by car over the next week to see family and friends for the traditional holiday. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. The Super Eagles of Nigeria have tumbled 8 places down the ladder in the latest FIFA World Ranking released earlier today by World Football Governing Body. The Super Eagles are now ranked 44th from the previous 36th and are placed 5th in Africa. Morocco remains the continent's best playing nation, despite dropping 1 place to 14th. Senegal moved 3 places to 17th. Egypt dropped 3 spots to 33rd. While Algeria remain unchanged on the 37th spots and 4th in Africa. And staying with the rankings, world champions Argentina remain unchanged on the number 1 spots. France, Spain, England and Brazil retained their spots to the top 5. Portugal moved 1 spot to 6. The Netherlands are in 7th, while Belgium dropped 2 places to 8th. Italy and Germany completed the world's top 10. This month's international window featured no fewer than 192 encounters. Away from the FIFA ranking, Liverpool manager Arne Slot has sent a warning to his players not to write off Sunday's opponents, Manchester City, despite their recent struggles. The manager dismissed any notion that Liverpool can expect an easy day at the office when they host the reigning champions at Anfield this Sunday. And that's sports. I'm Kelly. Egiga is back to Anne.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. The President, Emmanuel Macron, and his wife, Brigitte, today welcomed President Bola Tinubu and Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu to France as they begin a 2-day state visit to that country. But that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Good night.